Let's talk about the NAP again. So the phone number or the address being consistent, being correct is really important. They're going to look really foolish because even though Google is very dominant and basically a near monopoly, they're still worried that people will start switching over to Bing or to DuckDuckGo or go to Yelp to look for reviews instead of Google, whatever. So they're pretty hardcore on not showing anything that might make them look bad. So if they think they have the wrong info, you're not showing them the 3-pack. And we talked about that already. I talked about Moz Local a second ago. This is the way to check your name, address, phone number consistency. Go to moz.com/product/local, or if you just do a Google search for Moz space local, you'll find it. Click the check my presence, and you don't want to see a picture like this where you're missing from 84% of the directories. I mentioned this just a second ago. It used to be, I would say 3-4 years ago, the general consensus was that links to the domain overall mattered, and that's what affected ranking. That seems to have shifted, I think, about 2 years ago, and it seems to be links to the page that make the difference now. So that's made people change some of their strategies, especially for big franchises. One really strong link makes a massive difference. So links from little tiny directories that you've never heard of are not going to move the needle. A link from another newspaper site, a link from Better Business Bureau, that sort of stuff does make a big difference. So how do you check backlinks and see what your links look like compared to your competitors? The easiest way is to use this tool from Moz called the Moz Pro SEO Toolbar. You see these black bars here? This is called the Serp Overlay. Serp stands for Search Engine Results Pages. And so this is their Serp Overlay feature, and these black bars contain a bunch of statistics measuring backlinks to the page and to the site. So if you're wondering why the Ben Bulletin shows up number 1 and Ben Source shows up number 2, you can look at these metrics. And so the first metric, PA, is page authority. That's kind of like Google's PageRank. And that's a measure of link juice flowing to the page from external links to it and from internal links within the website. So this number here, 100,000 links from 2,000 RD stands for root domains. That's separate websites. That basically says that 2,200 other websites have links to the homepage of the Ben Bulletin. And it looks like about 50 links on average from each of those websites links to the Ben Bulletin. DA is domain authority. That's kind of a measure of links to the site overall. And so the Ben Bulletin has 5 million links from 20,000 other websites. Compare that to the Ben Source, 41,000, so less than one 100th, I guess, from about 1/5 as many different websites. So domain authority 74 versus 53, page authority 59 versus 46. Look at number 3 down here, page authority 26. It's all kind of falling into line based on page authority and domain authority. That's not always the case. Sometimes your content is good enough that with a deficit in your backlinks compared to one of your competitors, your content is scored by Google as being better and you can bump above somebody. But all else equal, if you and your competitor's article both have a great photo and a great amount of text content, and et cetera, the one with more links is probably going to rank higher. This toolbar, I think, costs $100 a month. If you're going to do a fair bit of SEO on your own for your site, or you're wondering what's going on, it's well worth it. In my business, because I'm looking at this all the time, I have to have it. But you need to decide for yourself whether that's something you want to dive that deep into. So let's talk about how you might get backlinks. Other newspapers. So if you're in a partnership or a consortium with, let's say, 5 or 10 newspapers from other cities, maybe you all have the same parent ownership, or you simply have good relationships with these folks. They're not competitive. You can work with other partners like that to get links by getting them to reshare your stories or getting your reporters to do a guest article at the other newspaper, and then that will get you a link back, things like that. Other businesses you work with, the people that actually do your printing, or that the office building that you have space in, or whatever happens to be. Links from those kinds of things matter. Typically for a newspaper site though, you're going to get a lot of links just because people link to your stories. And so in that way, you're kind of the luckiest kind of client I would ever see. Most businesses struggle to get links because people don't reshare their stuff. When you're in the news industry, that's stuff that people naturally share a lot. So most of your links are going to happen without you really doing anything besides maybe promoting it on Facebook and things like that. Let's see. Paid link builders is another option. I don't think that you folks in this industry need to go for paid link building. I would say paid boosts on Facebook to get articles shared is a good idea, but I don't think you need to go for paid link builders. So in terms of bad ways to get backlinks, if you're looking to build up your domain authority because, gee, you're the #2 paper in town and your competitor has 20% more links, and you decide, okay, we're going to spend some money here, these are places you don't want to get links from. If somebody talks about having a private blog network, you need to run away screaming. Google considers that to be pure spam. What that is it'll be a network of websites that humans actually don't ever go to, that are just built to sell links. And Google can spot those in a heartbeat. They have all sorts of tools to spot those. And if you're lucky, those links won't be counted. If you're unlucky, you'll get a penalty and won't show up in Google at all. So run away screaming from private blog networks. You don't want to do things like blog comments, spam, forum comments, things like that. It's okay if somebody, an individual actually manually posts something and links to you from a blog or a forum, that's fine. But what you don't want to do is go hire somebody who says, well, I can get a link to your site from 10,000 blogs. Google can spot patterns like that and you're going to get a penalty. You don't need to be submitted to a million different directories. You'll probably, I know I probably get 10 emails a day from people telling me that they can help my search visibility by submitting me to all these important directories. That's a pile of garbage. E-press releases don't work. They did work for a while. I used them for a while, and I made hay while the sun shone there, but they're not counted anymore. If you do too much of that, that can get you a penalty as well. Article marketing is a term that sort of came to light about 5 years ago. And the idea was kind of replication of what the big news conglomerates do, where the ABC station in Chattanooga will run a story and it sort of has some national interest, and so all the affiliate stations will run the story as well in their on their websites. That's legit and that's fine. Google's going to count the first one they see and not count the others, but it's not going to hurt anybody. What article marketing is, when somebody promises to do that and they have their network, like a private blog network, 500 websites that are complete garbage and nobody ever goes to them, and they're just going to republish the article on those. So if somebody's talking to you about article marketing, that's another thing you want to run away screaming from. The kinds of sites that are notorious for this and will get you in trouble, super articles, spelled SOOPER, is a bad one. Articles Factory is a bad one. Ezine articles is a bad one. Google knows these, has known them for years and years, and if you start showing up in all the publications they push to, you're in trouble. So don't do article marketing. Don't do widgets. Widgets can be useful for link building and can work, but they bring so many people penalties because it takes very little to do a widget link wrong and cause Google to get upset. I would not recommend using widgets unless you're a really advanced link builder. And so in the last slide, I had paid link builders as a good way to get backlinks. And in this slide, I have paid link builders as a bad way to get backlinks. And the reason why is it depends on what they're doing. Good link building looks like PR. Good link building, the company is going to look at content on your site, figure out some story that would be an interest to some other publication where it makes sense to do a soundbite quote. So maybe it's a soundbite quote from your reporter, which covers green industries in your city. And so they're pitching it to some other site that's all about, environmentally friendly industries, people in solar or whatever. A good link builder will say, okay, I'm gonna use a reporter who has some expertise in solar or green industries, whatever, because they write a lot of stories about them, and I'm gonna get a quote from them and use it in this article for this other publication. It's a lot like PR. That's good link building. Bad link building is where somebody gives you this menu and says, okay, for $100, I'll put you in these 45 different websites, all with a link with whatever anchor text you want. Okay, that's bad link building. If it doesn't really feel like a real story, a real news story or article on a legit site that real people go to, it's going to be bad.